Because I don't like lines.
Sit in these guys' lap.
Sorry. No, I don't. Yes, I do. I've got it. I hate you. Get ready, Jaime.
You're already getting
No, I'm
laughing.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, this is where Rachel.
I was going to say, after order to skip. Are you guys cool enough? Is everybody cool enough? Is everybody like okay, or do we? Okay.
Well, that's what to do with you.
Get off the stairs.
Not a good sign, you know. These guys are starting to harass me already.
We should all hold pillows. Hold a pillow.
Anyway, we're going to get started.
Okay.
Serious.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Sono Osato, and welcome to my studio, and welcome to the Gutter Blood Talk Show. And we're really glad to have you. I am just going to do a little 5-minute mana, and then we're going to get going. I have to do some shout-outs. First of all, I don't do this alone. I could probably go on for about 10 minutes telling you everybody who helps, but I'm going to just, most importantly, thank our sponsors, which is Lori and Mark Frick. They couldn't join us tonight, but they have been wonderful. And Ivester Contemporary, Kevin is here. Ann Williams, she lives in New Jersey. And Dio Traverso, who is on the back on the boards. So I asked, yes. I also want to thank our team. It's really amazing the way it's been slowly coming together. Philip Collins, where are you, Phil? There he is. We've got Jim Hickox back there. Christos Pathiakis. Jacob Perez. We've got Jesse Platts up there in the net. And I got to call out Rita Marie Ross, who's been with me from the beginning. Yeah. She does everything. You're sitting in her sofa. I also am extremely, extremely happy to say, I'm excited to announce, if I don't screw this up, okay, that we actually have our own URL now. We actually have nice. thegutterbloodtalkshow.com. And it launched yesterday. Can Jacob hear me back there? Can you take off your headphones and... I don't know. I'm not going to do that. Come on up here. Speaking of storytelling, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. Jacob came in to volunteer to design the website for me. So it's because of him. And then we sort of had we had a snafu with a sound person, and we were all hanging out till like midnight. And he goes, well, I have a 5-channel mixer? He's like, I got a 5-channel mixer. I do this stuff all the time. I'm happy to help you. So he saved our ass twice, just so you know. Anyway, okay, so that means that, where's my notes? Okay, so you can go here now and you can learn a lot more. You can see past shows. You can see all the other people I thank. And also you can donate. You can become a member. or you can become a sponsor. And for all of you in YouTube land, however, maybe a handful or how many are out there, you can also directly go to, we now have our own Venmo page. So if you're so inspired, you can just pick up your phone and go. Oh, the other thing I should mention is the timeline you guys have is the most recently updated. I got to call out Robert Ferris right up here up front. He's been really, really helpful. We've been talking, I've been sending it to a ton of people because it's really important that it is relentlessly inclusive. So the more people I talk to, the better. But he's been really, really helpful. It's going to be a long process, but it is up on the website so that if people see anything that's missing or that's wrong or that's spelled wrong or that's backwards or whatever, they can just email us and it'll be fixed. And we're just going to keep doing this for a while until we figure out what the hell we're going to do with it. But, okay. Now, this is the second of a two-part series. The first one, we had Chris Cowden, who is in the room. Where'd you go, honey? There she is. We had Robert Ferris, who's here. We had Annette Carlazzi, who couldn't join us tonight, but she's been wonderful, and she's also been very helpful with the timeline. And we have Robert Bowen. It was a really, really, really great show. It's a live stream. We just launched it. It looks fantastic. Thanks to the AV crew, my mind was blown. I finally had a chance to look at it 2 days ago, and I'm like, my God, it's so beautiful. But we sort of pulled out a few soil samples, and it was a really fun sort of riff, crunchy morsels going back to the 70s up to kind of the early 2000s. And then I asked this motley crew to help me with riffing about the kind of then starting the 1990s through the 2010s. And I really want to express my gratitude for you guys being here. They've put in a lot of time already, so I'm going to introduce you going down the line. I hope I don't screw this up. Okay, on my far left. Okay, on my far right is Rebecca Marino. She's an artist. She's the current Associate Director of the Texas State University Galleries in San Marcos. She was also the co-founder and co-editor of Conflict of Interest, the Gallery Director of Pump Project, and the Gallery Coordinator, Curator of Pump Project's Flex Space Galleries in the 2010s. Okay.
Fact check.
Rita, are you still here? I'm going to need you, honey. Okay. Erin Cunningham. Second to the right. She's a wonderful artist as well. She's also the founding member and now the current president of ICOSA Art Collective, founded in 2015. She is also an assistant professor of practice, area head of Core Studio 3D, Department of Art and Art History at UT. So this guy, I don't know what the hell to do with this guy. Okay. Jaime Salvador Castillo. He's a recovering artist. And he's a recovering arts writer. And he's an independent curator. Show your face! Okay. Where the hell was I? Oh, founding member of Los Outsiders, who's got something coming up next week, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The fifth.
What is it?
Shine bright like a diamond. Pedals dos.
Okay, so follow them on Instagram.
It's in order.
It's order, yes. So that's a curatorial collective and past. It's a curatorial collective. Okay, get your shit together. And then and the past chair of Art in Public Places panel and the Arts Commission for City of Austin District 2. This is a very short list. If I recited his dossier, it would take up half the show. But that's this guy. And then we have Naomi Schlenke. She's a wonderful artist who, in addition to a long art career, has 15 years of professional dance under her belt with the likes of Joe Good, among others, in San Francisco, where she was based in the 70s and the 80s. In 1994, she moved to Austin and went on to show with the notorious Dee Berman Gallery, hitting her marks on the Austin exhibition circuit beginning in the 2000s, the early 2000s, and has been an integral and beloved part of the Austin art community ever since. So I prepared, we're a real class act. I prepared some visual aids to get us started really quick. It's only going to take a second. Okay. So let's see, which way is in?
It's just like Sean's face.
Oh, God. Okay, so. Okay, no.
We all get a different version.
It's the right
of
side.
Sean's
Okay.
face.
Can you hold that? Hold that side.
Oh my God. Look at that.
Nice.
Oh, God.
You can't go.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Here, do you want?
Yeah, we can
There
help.
are straight places.
Oh, see? I don't know what I'd do without you. Here.
You got that.
You're also Mike.
We're all tired.
It's freedom. Delicious.
Cool.
Can you hear me? Okay. Not really that long. Anyway,
Oh my
this
God.
is sort of a geomap of the timeline. That's sort of where it is right now. Now, of course, I just kind of started. I ran out of room, so I sort of crammed 2022, 2023 over here.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Now, are you ready?
We lived it.
We lived.
We lived it. Now let's. So I'm going to show it to you guys.
Oh my God.
So just sort of like pretend
Leave
you're
this
snorkeling
covered up
upside
like
down or
this. This is
something.
good.
But that's basically kind of it. And at the bottom,
It's like a polygraph test
Jade
we
isn't
all
with
had to
us
take to be on here.
tonight, but at the very bottom, this bottom line is the Elizabeth Ney Museum, which goes all the way through. Women in their work is kind of over here. And it's really, really cool because you can kind of start to feel the movements.
Can you
know.
zoom online?
No, I did this last night. I did this yesterday. She showed up and saved my life. I was like, oh my gosh. She showed up at 10 o'clock and I was like, you want a beer? Okay, so let's roll it up and we're going to get, oh no, we can't. I need a volunteer. Can you come up and hold this for me, please?
I'm not sure.
Let's go. This is Sydney, everybody.
Hi, y'all.
Can you just hold that?
Hi, y'all.
Pillar in the community.
All right, so,
So I roll from this end?
well, you can just hang on to it really quick. So, all right, so we're going to do a core sample. You know,
This is
Okay,
very
so-
relaxing.
so, where the hell am I? Oh, 1996. I marked it right here. This is 1996, so if you go, like that. Okay, you ready? We had Gallery Lombardi. Laughing at the Sun. Stephen Clark Gallery. I got to get going because there's a lot on here. Diverse Arts Little Gallery. Holy 8 Ball Studios. Austin Museum of Art. Alternate Current. Coronado Print Studio. Do I say Lyon or Lions or Lion?
Lions.
Lions Matrix Gallery. I was like, Lyon. I wasn't there. Umla Sculpture Garden. Art from the Streets. Flatbed Press. Where is she? There she is. Okay. Galeria Sin Fronteras. We had the Austin Film Society. We had Art in Public Places. Mexicate Museum. Proplex Gallery. R.S. Levy Gallery. La Peña. Black Art Alliance. Do I say El Talle Gallery? El Taller? El Talle. Thank you very much. Let's get that straight. El Talle Gallery, Wally Workman Gallery, the Carver Museum, Pine Street Station Studio, Davis Gallery, Doherty Art Center, Women in Their Work. There she is. Okay. Huntington Art Gallery, Shoal Creek Gallery, Art Alliance Austin, Laguna Gloria, Texas Fine Art Association, and the Elizabeth Ney Museum. Now this is a partial list if we went all the way down. Now,
19 when?
huh?
What, I can't say the number. 19 when?
It was 1996. This is if we dropped you in on a time machine. We just sort of dropped you into the art scene. You were walking around. Now, we go up to 2018, which is right here. Okay, I got to get busy. Wait, hang on. You guys can actually start to roll it up while I rattle this
Oh
off.
my God, they're losing momentum.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to spin this up and then we're going to get going. Okay. In 2018, we had Martha's Contemporary, Dorf, Cage Match Project over there, Austin Art Talks, Sightlines, Sage Studio, Data Geek, Bale Creek Allen Gallery, Castillo, Art Galleries for Black Studies, or more affectionately known as ABGS, Cloud Tree, Dimension Gallery, Raisin in the Sun, ATM Gallery, Conflict of Interest, ICOSA Collective, Lincoln Pen, Future Front, Crit Group, hashtag Bitrez, is that how I say it, Bitrez? Yay! Okay, Preacher, Outsider Fest, Camiba Art Gallery, Fireseed Clay Art Studios, which is right down the street there, Contemporary Austin, Print Austin, Prizer, get it straight, Prizer Arts and Letters, Canopy, Northern and Southern, Black Box, Museum of Human Achievement right over there, Tiny Park, Hope Outdoor Gallery, Gray Deck Gallery right over there, Landmarks, Collab Projects over there, Austin Art Garage, Los Outsiders right there, Big Medium, New East Arts Gallery, Mass, I'm running out of breath, Blanton Art Museum, Pump Project, Flex Space, Fusebox Festival, Texas Biennial, Laura Reynolds Gallery, Studio 2 Gallery, I said that right, East and West Austin Studios tours, I'm almost done, Fluent Collaborative Test Site, Rec Spec Gallery, Women in Their Work, the Mexicarte Museum, the Carver Museum, and this is also a partial list built on top of former shout-outs. Not listed in the core sample are numerous entities that had come and gone by 2018, including D. Berman, I think it's D. Berman and Art House. There you go. Okay. Now we can roll it out. You can sit down. Oh. We practiced this last night, I think. Did we? All right, so let's just throw it over there. Let's just go this way.
Can I? I'll wrap myself so I can stay warm.
We're not really sure why you're up there
I have a name card.
Is that mutable? Can we add it to
I know who you are.
Oh, you just did that in
What's it? With my name.
Oh, and then you'll add it under.
I just did this as a prop for tonight.
So cool. Thank you.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Do you sleep?
Sometimes. Okay, we're gonna get going now. That's enough of my.
Wild.
Interlude.
It was a wild way to start this.
Okay. Well,
We're shooting on
here
the
you go.
thing.
This is perspective. Thank you guys back there. Appreciate it. All right. All right, so we're gonna get started. So I wanted to start with you.
Good.
We all hung out and had a beer last Saturday, and we were talking about all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that kept coming up was the scene in Guadalupe and 17th, because you and Jaime both kind of came in around 94, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to have you guys riff, like what it was like for you and for Jaime. So.
Okay.
You should go first.
I think
'cause
you
mine
go
is-
first, teen.
Yeah, I have a different story, so you go first.
Okay, I'll tell my happy story. Okay, so we came from San Francisco in '94, and it was a bit of a culture shock because it seemed '94 the city was slow. I mean, compared to now, which is like speeding, high tech, money, everything. It was just kind of like cowboy camp was the highlight of the news, summer news hour, and we were going, whoa. So, but things went on, and by 2000, there had developed at the corner of like 17th and Guadalupe, David Berman had opened a space, and right around the corner on La Vaca was Women in Their Work. And they had moved there, I believe, before David, from their space on 6th Street. And so the wonderful thing that would happen is this scene developed so that a lot of the artists who were represented there, as well as, of course, people who weren't represented, the clientele you hope are going to come, we would get together at the clay pit. And we'd find out from each other what's going on in our worlds and on our art and opportunities, and we'd drink a lot and we'd eat fried calamari, and then we would all go down to the openings, and we'd go around the block, and it was just a lively, happy place. Artists spend a lot of time alone in their studios, and scenes like that really allow you to feel like okay, there's this world outside my studio that we all care about it, even though art is really so tiny in the world. It's very good to have these scenes because they enliven, and Flatbed was also on MLK was one of those scenes. Again, where the evening opens up and everybody's got openings and everybody's going around, and also bringing together work of different kinds, things that's more conservative and less, and the different clienteles coming together, mixing in those places. We also had reading groups. Someone has called it Think and Drink, I think. No, I think there was another reading group earlier on the other side of town with Dana and Annette and some people called Think and Drink. I'm not sure, but I know we had one that was like, we had to make sure we didn't drink till later in the discussion so that we could actually, and people just took turns leading the session, choosing a book, something that was juicy and difficult. And here again, the question in Austin is stimulation, for the artist to pop out of their studios and get some friction going with other people's minds and other people's agreements or disagreements. And so I think in Austin, it seems easier than it seemed to me in San Francisco to make these little intimate groups, that maybe the town is, I know it appears crowded, but it's easier to get around, and most of the artists live in the central part of the city anyway, pretty much. So Charles has started a reading group, and this is later on, but that was a big part of our existence. The other stuff I would just mention about that was important to me at that time, is this okay?
Of course it is.
It's okay. I didn't know how long I had. So Art House. Art House was extremely important. And as we said last week, it went through many different names until it evolved. But I'm thinking of one little period before it was remodeled, and Art House was at the corner of like 7th and Congress. And it was just a can-do kind of space, and it was important because it focused on regional and local artists. It appeared that way anyway. And so there was a kind of excitement like, oh, here's a place where people were included, in the discussion. Because as you know, being in Austin, sometimes the other cities look down on us. Like we had the snobbery from, Houston and Dallas and even San Antonio, and you think like, hello, we're here. But anyway, so those kind of things, they had wonderful programs, like they had a portfolio review. They would bring in curators who made it difficult on us, And like, just for a quick anecdote, we had a,
Oh, the one that 8 artists?
Yeah, don't give my line. Come to my line. Okay. So, Louis
told me.
That's all right. Louis Kamnitzer, very famous curator, very tough guy. None of us knew that. We just kind of went in with our little things, and then the joke about him, we found out later, was that he eats artists for breakfast. And so it was very rugged, as some other people like Beverly and who went through this portfolio experience. It was traumatic, basically, but stimulating, because it made you feel again that you're in contact. You need your intensity of your own little stream, and then you need to touch that big river moving by. So that was, it was fun. It was exciting. They gave solo shows. They gave New American Talent. Yearly had a lot of Austin people in it, but it also had some national. And I swear I remember standing in front of a painting by Julie Meritu, who was just emerging at that time. And so, it was an exciting experience. Just that attention was being paid, and there was like a petri dish for us, Texas artists, which is something I'm really still hungry for, that we had something like the Oakland Museum, which serves California artists, that, the art house for a while felt like that. Sydney had a solo show there. They were awarded these wonderful big shows to people. So, yeah, and then Dana had 22 to watch, which was also felt very like, everybody, artists, yay, to get your work out of, where your work is seen is also what makes people pay attention to it, even if it's a beautiful piece of work. So to appear in these different venues, a lot of local artists, it was a kind of thrilling, uplifting time. So I'm only talking for 2010, because once we hit 2009, there was the big crash, and things definitely changed after that. Oh, and of course, you can't not mention that time without women in their work, which was just like, are you getting a show at Women in Their Work? That was a whole, the hubbub, and excitement is important.
Yeah,
In the recipe for
I agree.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
Yeah.
And like what popped in my mind was how that overlays with I's Got It,
Oh yeah.
you know.
I was in that.
And you were also you did portfolio reviews at Art House, but I's Got It is got this cool kind of edgy thing where it was like, can you explain?
Sure. There is a version of the story at the Creative Standard, Big Medium's YouTube channel, so if you want to check that version out. But the short and nasty of I's Got It is that it was a riff off of now I'm blanking on the
Like America's Got Talent or something?
Next Great Artist on cable. I didn't have cable at the time, so I didn't watch it. So I was just reading reactions from the blogs, and we skipped my intro, but this is I was very confident, maybe overconfident. I'm like, I could do this better. Like, that is not the way that you find a great artist, by giving them homework assignments. You got to let them show you what they're thinking, what they're expressing, look at their work. And so I just happened to have an opportunity to curate a show at Pump Project, and I just worked my way to Big Medium, because East was right around the corner. I'm like, hey, can I do this competition idea? And they said yes, and I put it all together. And the idea is that artists apply, it's an open call. Their work gets reviewed by 3 arts professionals. I had a gallerist judge, a curatorial judge, and an artist judge, because I wanted the artist judge to be able to look at the work and understand how it's made. So Sterling Allen, gratefully, was the first artist judge of I's Got It. And then I wanted a gallerist judge, because I wanted to make sure someone who knew how to sell things was going to be able to provide feedback, and thankfully Rachel Coper was our first gallerist judge. And then I wanted a curatorial judge, or I think at the time I called her academic, but I wanted someone who could understand the work in terms of the placement of art history. And so thankfully Risa Puleo was the curator at the Blanton at the time, and she agreed to be the first curatorial judge. And so artists would go through 3 rounds, each time a little bit tougher. The first round was just a yes or no, can they move on? Second was the judges talking about the artwork and then narrowing it down to 3. And then the final 3 artists would be in the room with the judge, well, one at a time. Each artist would bring their artwork, 3 to 5 pieces, with the judges, and having an impromptu studio visit. And then from those 3 interviews, one artist would be selected to have a solo show. That first year was at Pump Project, and then the second year I approached a new gallery down the street from me and asked them if they would be willing to partner with me, and Jill Schroeder from Grey Duck agreed, and we worked together for 10 years.
Yay, Jill.
And it was great. For me, it was about providing feedback to artists, knowing that artists, whether they just got out of school or maybe they never went to school, but they need that feedback. They need to talk about that work and what's going on and how they're expressing their ideas. And so I wanted to provide that in a different form of just, waiting till they had a show somewhere, and then it also became about providing exhibition opportunities for them. So I started doing group shows. You know, besides the winner, I would select some of the runners up and give them group shows, and
Yeah, so it was layered.
it was definitely layered. And then the one thing that I was not successful on, and I'm telling y'all now, I tell everybody, is that there was this other component where I wanted the general public to be able to feel confident about going into a gallery or into a museum,
Right.
and just be able to know that, like, whatever their reaction is to the work in front of them is totally valid.
Yeah.
And there's no need for being afraid or for, you know, worried about being too pretentious or whatever, you know, whatever keeps people away from art. Like, I wanted to break that down. So that's why, I mean, I live streamed it before live stream, well, I guess when live streaming was coming up. And I tried, I was even in talks with our local PBS station to try to get it produced with them. I wasn't able to get it across the finish line, but that was a part of it that, like I said, I didn't really wasn't fully successful on, but it was a part of, like, artists, arts professionals, general public, like, let's get everybody together to talk about stuff.
Right. Yeah, but you started it. I mean, you took a stab. I sometimes believe, you know, like, trying something probably, I bet some great stuff happened that you weren't always aware of.
Oh yeah, we found
Yeah.
a bunch of artists who were like,
Yeah.
where have you been hiding?
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. You were the executive producer, right? Is that what that's what it's,
Yes, that's the title my boss gave me when I hired myself.
yeah. Oh, there you go.
Smart. Clever.
So you came in like '94 from Chicago or from?
From Chicago, yeah.
Okay. And what was it like for you? Like what?
I don't know, nothing. I had to go to school and do my homework, watch TV, watch cartoons, and read comic books.
Right.
Yeah, so I moved here from Chicago with my family, got here in '94. I did all 4 years of high school here. I had 2 excellent art teachers at Travis High School. Support your public art, but support your public schools. Don't
Yes.
believe the propaganda. Public schools are awesome.
Yeah, we had Mind Pop here on, I think it was our 4th show.
Yeah. Ana Salinas was an art, she was my first art teacher. She introduced me to Mexicarte.
Okay.
They were starting a new program called Young Latino Artists, and they were looking for artists. And Ana was able to get a group of us from the school, and we were able to participate in that first year as a group. I guess collective. So it was a number of us, about half a dozen of us, that had some artwork. We did a group project, and so I was in the first YLA at Mexicarte, and then the following year I applied as a solo artist, and I was in the second YLA at Mexicarte.
All right.
Yep.
And then she also introduced me to La Peña, and
Yeah.
they have an annual fundraiser called Toma Mi Corazón. So around in the January timeframe, as a fundraiser for Valentine's, they give out wooden hearts and they ask artists to decorate them, and then they auction them off as a fundraiser. I participated in that a couple of years, but the last year that I participated, no one was interested in my piece, and my art teacher ended up purchasing it. She was also the co-owner of El Sol y la Luna restaurant.
That's
She
right.
was right there on South Congress, where I forget what it's called now, but you know, right next to the Penis Motel. It was an awesome motel. Their sign.
Yeah.
For our YouTube audience that may not know, they'll see the images. Anyways, so she had my heart displayed in her restaurant. And a certain little someone, you might have heard of him, his name was Sean Lennon. He ended up buying it.
Really?
So, you know, I'm in the Sean Lennon collection.
That's freaking awesome.
And then my other art teacher, Laura Malcolm, she for our senior project, we had a senior exhibition for our art, graduating seniors in art and in photography, and Laughing at the Sun Gallery was our venue. They graciously
I
hosted
didn't know
us.
that.
us and a lot of people.
You did. Yeah.
So, like I said, public schools, support them.
Yeah.
So that's in the 90s, and then I go to school, I go to UT, and then I took a gap year, and I noticed that my other peers were also slightly older, and I actually ended up hanging out in the sculpture lab a lot with the grad students, and I became aware at that time. Then I was like, oh, there's an art scene here in Austin, and that's when I became aware. Robert mentioned the grad students that made their installation at the In Construction Amelie downtown. I think there was 2 versions, and then there was with Barna.
Colin. Can't remember Colin's last name.
I don't remember Colin.
Colin, yeah.
Oh, Colin Hossel. Lynn Richardson, that's the one I remember.
Lynn, yeah.
So they did their thing, and then there was another arts collective in town called Open Doors. Hunter Cross, Tara Goolsby, Jacob Villanueva, and I think a couple other artists. And they did they did an installation at Hunter's house, and then they were able to do one at the Amelie. And I see that, and I get inspired. I'm like, oh, if I'm working with other artists, then we can make things happen. And then it was around that same time where, of course, Mo was having their 20 to watch. Art House would do New American Talent. I mean, there was just a lot of energy in the air, just a lot of things happening, and it's just.
This is like around 2000,
2005.
Okay.
2006.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was just a lot of, I think the grad students were deciding that they could stay and actually do something here. Like we talked about last time, that the institutions were institutions. They were young, baby institutions, but they were there. And they were doing things to help artists be recognized, providing those catalogs and traveling shows. And there was just a lot of great energy at that time of like, we can make things happen here.
Yeah, it's been like working on this project, and I moved here 7 years ago, so it's just been really wonderful, kind of an eye-opening to look at all of this, and it seemed like a really special time. It was like also that there was a PED, and we talked about this in the last show, we've talked about this in numerous shows, where there's kind of a PED culture, there's a concentration where people can actually really, there's so many different components of holding an art world together, but one of them is just actual proximity, so there was that, and I would like to jump into something else. I was going to ask actually Erin and Rebecca about mass, and this also kind of connects into what Robert Boland brought up last time, which is the grease trap story at the Blue Genie Theater.
That's your story.
And
It's fine.
this kind of constellation, because this is sort of like the early 2000s, and it's like, but anyway, I mean, just as a place to start,
Well, I mean, I think it's the lead-in is that what's interesting, Jaime and I overlapped in that when you were leaving undergrad, I was starting grad. So I was a grad from 04 to 07, same as Robert Boland. So we had crossover, saw you around the studio a little bit, and then out in art openings and whatnot. So I think from the perspective of like that time frame as a grad student, when we would emerge from our studios and go to openings, I think what we were doing, you talked about Dee Berman, Women at Work. Dee Berman was the first time I ever saw your work, I think, in person, right? You showed there. Yeah, a long time ago. Creative Research Lab was always kind of like a go-to because of that complex.
Yeah.
So we'd go there. Art House, Gallery Lombardi, East Side. The two bars were Peacock Lounge and Long Branch, I think. Long Branch Forever. That's just like I remember from grad school.
Oh, where
and
was
Art
that?
Palace. Sorry, we'd always go to Art Palace.
Oh, right, in Art
Yeah,
Palace,
yeah. I don't remember going to like OK Mountain that much until I moved back. But so I had like this time frame when I was there for grad school, and then I left for about 6 years and then came back. But when we were in grad school, and what Robert was talking about, and I think when we had drinks the other night, I made the connection that the two spaces I've been involved with starting. Both started in old auto shops, so it was like the stinky auto shop of what Mass is. Mass's original space was next to the old Blue Theater over at Canopy.
The Blue Genie?
Yeah. It's where Canopy is now. I don't even know. It's like design studios in there. But when we were in grad school, I was a second year metals. Robert was sculpture, and Jared Stephenson. This is when there's a 3-year program. He was a sculpture grad, and he had sort of the brainchild to start Mass, and he kind of gathered a bunch of the grad students together at Spider House Coffee House to sort of propose this idea of kind of a grad student-run space, but something that, wanting to have a place for the grad students to kind of go and work. Like, I remember in grad school, I was sort of almost discouraged from trying to show a whole lot places. I remember them kind of telling us that, and so it was this sort of weird thing. They're like, no, you don't show, you just stay in your studio and make work. But yeah,
It's still
I know.
the case.
I mean, did you have that, Robert? Yeah, I think we all at that time. They were just like, no, you don't go show, you just stay here and make work. It was weird. But Jared's now the head curator at the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art, right? But anyway, it's a lot of people don't necessarily might not know that or remember him, but it was Jules Buck-Jones was the first year. He was involved, Matt Reboltz, Vung, I don't remember Vung's last name, Rich Mansfield, Scott Proctor. So a lot of people who are still around. But the nice thing about Mass is that as grad students graduated, it just kind of kept being passed down. I think Jules is one of the ones that stayed on the longest, and it still is to this day. A lot of the people who run it are current or former UT grads. So it's kind of a nice space for the way it started and the way it's continued to go, is a place for grad students to experiment. In the beginning, I was saying one of our first shows after a group show was the 50 State show, where with the amount of members we had, we tried to see if we could get art from at least one person from each state. And we all had our different connections, and I don't remember how many we got, but we had a good amount. So it was fun. And then they ended up being a good venue for grads to, after just graduating, to collaborate and exhibit work. And then it's just kind of took off from there, and they started just really branch out and do some really incredible, wacky projects.
Tui Vong Bu. Hi, Vong.
Hi, Vong. Thank you. I didn't remember. And there's more. Barno was involved, right? And Catalan, I think also. There's a bunch of us, but yeah. So it's been interesting for me to come back to and just see how it's continued to go and be passed down. But then I left and came back in 2012, 2013, and sort of felt it was a little different in terms of some of the galleries that we knew in grad school had moved away, and I was a little unfamiliar with, what was going on, and trying to re-immerse myself, and got approached by people like Jonas Crisco and some other artists that wanted to try to find a space to, there were a lot of really great artists in Austin showing work that didn't necessarily get a chance or opportunity in the galleries that were around to show. So through a lot of meetings and just reaching out to friends and networking, ICOSA kind of started as a 20-person collective, which also was an auto shop, which was Juke's Auto Shop, which was connected to Pump Project, and we walked in and it was a complete mess, but once again took on the battle of cleaning out a really stinky auto shop and trying to make it into an exhibition space. It really allowed a lot of artists to collaborate, curate, and just kind of a sounding board or experimental space, try ideas without, just not being in the commercial gallery situation, and just try new things, see, experiment before you kind of take it out and maybe propose it to show other places. So and we're still going now. We moved over to Canopy about 6 years ago. But that's how I met Rebecca. I think the first time we started knowing each other and working together is when we went to the old auto shop, and you were at Pump Project, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to ask about, because I've been thinking, again, like reimagining from somebody who wasn't there, Part of this whole storytelling thing is my own hunger to hear the stories, kind of knowing that the place that I'm in. But I've always, when I first got here, conflict of interest was still going, and I actually remember going into a bar and you guys were all there meeting, and I didn't know any of you were like, oh God, there's the cool guys. Well, you know,
and sorely mistaken.
yeah. But I mean, it seemed like there was this really great condensation around. What's the street that it was on? It's
Shady Lane.
Yes, Shady Lane. So I wanted to just kind of like, what was that like? What was the relationship and the sequence and things like that? ICOSA, did you guys come up together? Did ICOSA was born? Okay.
You want me to?
Yeah, you go.
Let's introduce
turn to
Rebecca. Tell us about you.
I'm Rebecca Marino, and I'm part of this panel. Pump Project. I mean, was a warehouse. I mean, that was a warehouse space started by a bunch of hippie glass blowers, including one of which was Sean Gallagher. They just wanted some live and working space.
Yeah.
And so they got this weird warehouse, and then and I guess that was 2005, and
Piercing era.
he bounced out. What's that?
Piercing era for Sean. Yeah.
He was blowing glass
Yeah,
and
that.
taking names and then but yeah, and then he was like he left, and then Deborah Bros came on. I hope that she's watching it. I told her about it. Amazing artist and really good friend. And she came in. She just like moved here and was like, "Oh, this is cool," and kind of got the opportunity to help fill the studio spaces because Pump Project was a giant warehouse that had a gallery space, but also had many studio spaces for artists that continue to grow. And so she came on. It was actually Shady Tree Studios when it first opened, and then they changed it to Pump Project. 2009, when they were part of the Texas Biennial, redid the gallery. I came on like about 2008 when I was an undergrad as like a little like a volunteer intern situation. Just never left. And I then started, when they opened in 2010, they opened like the satellite space down the street, and so I ran that gallery for like 3 to 4 years. And then when Deborah eventually moved to LA, I took over that space. For a hot minute I was running both, which was a big not a great choice on my part, but then we consolidated, and then in the end we had just the one space, but we rented from Juke Auto. For any of your automotive needs.
I think this is actually an auto shop. Somebody was repairing sports cars in here, right? But then there's like, you know, when we were hanging out on.
Yeah, well, Juke moved out. So we were adjacent to Juke Automotive. He owned the whole strip, right? And so then he moved out, and we took over his area, which was ICOSA did their they like, you know, tested out the space a little bit.
Pop-up.
It's a little pop-up during East, and then moved in, and we ended up splitting that space in two. So ICOSA had the front, and then we put studios in the back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then I guess that's when we met, when you came back to Austin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. And it's like, it's interesting. Well, I've been like, of course, reading everybody's resumes, looking at some really close. There's a lot of interconnection. Like one of the things we were riffing about when we all were hanging out at kind of Tropical was like Pump Project was really kind of integral in some ways with East-West, where there was
East.
Just East. Sorry.
Just
Excuse
East.
me. Sorry. Sorry. You know, and then also Pump Project showed Some Eyes Got It, right?
Was the
Yeah, we did
Grand
all the
prize.
group. I was like,
So there's
okay,
like-
you're just not going to mention that, I guess. That's fine. We did all the group hug shows at the Flex Gallery.
I wanted to give time
He
for you
pitched
to
it to me
chat.
as like an American Idol sort of thing. He's like, I got this idea. It's like American Idol.
Well, full story is on,
I was like,
the other
do it.
podcast, but you were the reason.
I
like,
know.
You were the first person I asked.
Did you ever
I'm
go to
only
any of
like
this?
sitting up here with him.
Not a
Didn't
lot
even
of
think to mention me.
What?
I knew this was a huge
Can we
mistake.
intro her again? I don't-
Actually, I was in Nice Got It.
Yeah, that's right. You were a nice guy about it.
I'm gonna grab these pillows. No. Yeah, and then you did want to pump Project proper. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. I met Jaime when I was an intern at Art House as a child. I was a baby.
So you would say I mentored you almost.
I hate you so much. There are no mentors in Austin, Jaime. You
I should throw back to the last one.
He was like a literal mentor. Was his job at Art House.
I didn't have one, which is also a lie. Because Nathan Jensen, if you're watching this, you are my mentor.
You just like popped off about your public school teacher.
Why is he on the
Wendy.
panel?
All right.
I don't have to do anything to sit here.
Because I'm doper than you.
Right.
But seriously, though, Nathan Jensen, in the early 2000s, before 2005, he started the Art Hive. It was a studio. Art Hive.
Oh, Jesus, I need a pen.
Um,
Art Hive, all the
yeah, so it was
Someone's
like,
writing it down. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Dance.
Thank you.
so yeah, I
Nice.
interned for him, and I helped him send out mailers out to Houston galleries. We had artists in the studios renting space. We tried to do events. We would daydream about a citywide open studio tour. Like, wouldn't that be amazing? And and then we, the rest of Austin,
Yeah.
made that happen.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way so much is just kind of like
Shea Little stole his
turning
idea.
up. And also you were in I's Got It, which I noted.
Yeah, I was in one of the shows.
Yeah.
I was eliminated, but
We didn't cover that when we were doing it here.
I got pretty far in the competition. Good
You
enough.
got
Good enough.
honors up.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
Can I ask a question?
Yes!
So I've Got It, as I said, was intended for emerging artists. I was thinking specifically for young artists coming out of school.
Right.
And so there was just a certain point where, I had expanded already to San Antonio, but after that, there was a certain point where I started getting established artists applying, and I didn't quite understand why. It's like,
Because you were totally happening, man. That's why.
I think it's because artists are always desperate
Yes!
for opportunities. Like, maybe this will be a crack in the wall, and maybe I'll meet some other people here, and my work will be exposed in a different setting. So anything to keep the river going. That's and it looked like a good thing. And I knew you were in charge of it. So.
And some of it is just pure curiosity to see like how different people are going to respond to your work, and what your shot is. 'Cause, I'm an artist, but it's like, it's just.
I think we're all always emerging artists.
Yeah.
Every one of us.
Yeah.
We are in
I'm an
Austin.
emerging artist.
Yeah.
Weird. I've been practicing art for so long, and I'm still an emerging artist as far as I know.
Yeah, I never know what the hell I'm doing. But
Ditto.
please forgive me, but I'm going to bring up something about conflict of interest, because like when
That's
we
fine.
had a big party with like everybody, because we had 4, there's 8 in the 2 series, so I kind of threw this little party in the beginning for all of us so we could just kind of hang out, and you told this great story about, again, I was sort of like this, I was in awe of conflict of interest, because it was also like you mentioned that it was like an archive. I know it's like you interviewed Sean. There was just a lot of it wasn't art in America. It was covering the community in all these different ways. It was really crunchy. There was all kinds of different stuff going on. But you told the story of the origin of the name conflict of interest. Do you mind if I asked you to tell that story again?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Basically, really good friend, artist, writer, curator, Seth Schwager, who had a studio at Pump Project, the space that I ran, and was one of the very few people writing for art in Austin for the Austin Chronicle, mostly. And it's really hard to get coverage in Austin. But at that point, actually, it was quite good. There was like 2 people who were writing a lot, and Seth was one of them. And Seth had this like super stupid stance of just being like, I can't write reviews about shows at Pump Project because I have a studio here. And I was like, that's so dumb. He was like, it's a conflict of interest. And in my mind, I just thought that was crazy because I feel like we all do so many things here in Austin, like our hands are just like in so many different things in terms of like, I mean, at that time I was like a curator, an artist, I was an art handler at many spaces, and I also like worked at all these, and to me it was like, how like, and of all things, like having a studio here, how is that a conflict of interest? And I was just like, well, I'm going to start my own publication. It's going to be called Conflict of Interest. And you're right for it. And
So it was like a, oh.
I'm Seth Schweiger. I won't write about your gathering. That's exactly what he sounds like. I mean, we were so hard up, people were hitting up Robert Jackson Harrington for his Tumblr post. It was like that bad. That's where we were at with arts writers. It was definitely a joke, but I definitely also, I complain a lot. I am super well aware of my disability. I swear to God. Just drink your Dr. Pepper. Settle down.
Still accepting sponsorship.
I understand. I like to bitch a lot, but I am also of the notion of like, either like shut up at a certain point or do something about it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have to say that Tao Batang, we ran it together, the two of us. She was truly the like force that was like, we should actually do this. And so I told her like if we could come up with content for like a year basically ahead of time, like ideas and like sort of categories, like I'd do it, and she really, like, I couldn't have done it with anybody else. Tao was like, Tao also was a founder, ran Tiny Park, which was an amazing gallery. And we never, and we both really love writing, and it was not just visual art. I will also say it was visual art and the literary communities in Austin, which was really cool to make that crossover and kind of, dive a little deeper into that and sort of bring them together as well. And it was never like, I mean, we definitely had some like spicy articles, but we were never really about critical discourse per se. It was very much about creating an archive of what was going on in Austin, because it's like if you don't have any coverage, it's like it didn't even happen. And we have such high turnover here and so many galleries and artists that come and they go. And it's like if you don't have these publications that cover it, which was certainly not happening, it's like people forget about it. A lot of people don't remember a lot of galleries and amazing people that were here. And so it's actually, and we tried really hard. It was really difficult for the two of us to do on our own. Yeah. But we had an amazing advisory board, and we even got to a point where we could, we wrote grants and we were able to hire writers, and we couldn't even find people to pay to do it for us. It was like really difficult, but it's cool because now when you look at it, it's kind of this awesome like time capsule of that time.
Yeah.
That
agree.
Yeah.
You never asked me.
Thank you.
It really was.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sometimes you put that stuff out there and you're like, I don't even know if anyone's looking at this thing, but I guess we're just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And like so many people in here involved, like Adrian designed like the books that we put out, and Sean was on our advisory board, and Jill was in it. So it's like a
People
cool
pull together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like one more question, and I want to let you guys in a little bit, but I'm like really curious about Ken Tanker.
Yeah. Well, that was Sean. What?
I was going to try to segue to that too,
Hi.
because you were digging the
Well,
bottom of the
Cantanker
barrel,
was-
asking Robert to write, and Ken Tanker dug the bottom of the barrel and asked me to write.
Beat that, Rebecca.
that was Sean, Deborah, Shay,
And Josh.
and John.
And John.
John, yeah, it was like Josh was
John.
not. Josh was not involved in that. John Mulvaney. I just popped on that because like that was about when I was. That was like the latter years of interning at Pump Project, and just Deborah was like, "Hey, can you?" You know, I was I helped out with it, but Cantanker was an evolving publication. It was not like. You can't just like pick up a Cantanker and like it's not gonna have like reviews. It turned into kind of almost like a curatorial object. Like artists. It almost for some. I remember the one show where it was almost like the catalog for a show, where it was like the art that was in this exhibition that they put on. There was like a multi one where like. Sean Ripple curated different artists, or they had different curators kind of curate different
Sometimes it's just
publications with
pictures.
artists in it. What's that?
Sometimes it's mostly pictures.
Yeah, absolutely mostly pictures. I mean, they were almost just like objects in themselves. Like, I think they initially started with more text and then became more of a
So
they
it was
became a
almost like
different
an
thing.
art, it was an art publication, it was an artist book,
Very- yeah.
almost.
It has
Yeah,
a lot of
or
different
was.
iterations. I digitized them all, so they should be.
Yay, Rebecca!
I mean, that was when I was like 20 years old, but yes, I did do it. It should be there, Shay Little.
You're looking around like who's
I'm looking at the camera, I'm breaking the fourth wall. Hopefully they still exist because it took a lot of time back then. But you can look, I mean, they're all just super different. It was a cool
Yeah.
thing to be a part of, for sure. I felt like, you know.
Probably a great collection to have.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
different. It was super,
I love
super
that.
different than Conflict of Interest, but it was,
Yeah.
very cool.
Well, that's great though. Like
Yeah.
to have that sort of like, I call it crunchiness or, tooth, something things are really open and porous and all these different things are happening. People are spinning off of each other and getting all these ideas.
Yeah.
I
I think to be honest, it like got to a point where they like got grant money and they're like, well, we have to do this thing. Like, what do we do? And then just yeah, and they're like, Sean Ripple make some like crazy object out of this book and we'll print it. And sorry, it was
That's really great. Thanks for telling me about it, because I was really curious. Are there like is there any archive or anything,
There
like
should be.
for the youngins who are coming up so they know about their forebearers or anything like that?
I don't know if it
Okay.
exists.
Yeah.
There are like box sets of it that exist somewhere.
Somewhere,
I have several
okay.
of them, and then Rebecca
I have all
digitized
of
the whole
them,
thing.
but-
So there is an archive essentially, but
Yeah.
there's not like, maybe there's some copies in the library. I think we gave some. to some,
Okay.
There is a digital archive that better exists somewhere.
Okay.
yeah.
So are they available? No.
No.
Oh no! I mean, Cantanker. I mean, no.
There are.
Yeah.
There.
I
I
think
mean,
Rebecca might be the youngest person in the room, so.
in the room. Maybe.
know, I'm looking
What
at-
about it? Look what I've done.
Signs of good mentorship.
Thanks, Deborah Bros. Thanks, Deborah Bros.
Hey, you can still find my archive. I started digital and stayed digital.
Archive of what?
About what put me on
About what he sees.
Yeah. That's what got me the gig at Austin Chronicle, as an art blog, writing reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got some work to do, like lay this stuff down. I want to open up a little bit. Does anybody want to jump in? Anybody have a question? Or
Recollection.
No, not
Come
your
on.
question. No, put your hand down.
who?
Or missing recollection.
Not anything, you guys?
You pan the camera too.
Or if any of us got anyone to add in something that we missed,
Yeah.
knows these timelines.
I mean, I could
Okay.
add more because I didn't even
keep going.
talk about Los Outsiders.
Jackie's definitely younger than me.
Events that you guys
Jackie's
over
definitely
time.
less.
Yeah.
Younger.
Yeah, so I'll start at the beginning. So what I left out in my intro was that after I graduated from UT, I got invited again by Mexicarte to be in Young Latino Artist number 11. So I did 3 YLA shows. And I met Michael Anthony Garcia and Hector Hernandez. And at that time, yeah, those dudes are all right. At that time, I was writing my art blog, and we were getting together just to do crits for each other. And then we had an opportunity to show. I'm forgetting the timeline exactly, but Collab gave us an opportunity to show together, and then we got invited to Nuevo Laredo down in Mexico to do a show. And so we curated that because it was a huge ass space, invited a bunch of installation artists to help fill out the space. And I know for me personally that the curatorial bug bit me hard, and I fell in love with the process. And so we've been working together ever since. Around 2015, Robert Jackson Harrington got invited. He was supposed to be my replacement, but they pulled me back in. And we got an opportunity to do an exhibition at the MAC, the Mexican American Cultural Center, and we needed money, so we decided to do some fundraisers. Robert illustrated a Loteria card playing set, so took luminaries, celebrities, well-known people in the community, turned them into Loteria cards, and then we ended up playing a game where we charged the fee for y'all to enter to play. And then we also did Dance Your Pants Off.
Yeah. Woo! Nice.
Rachel knows.
Liberty dance for women at work.
Yes. So
Liberty
we
and Chantel.
came up with this idea of having a dance competition, asked arts organizations in town to offer up 2 dancers, come up with 3 dances, and Los Outsiders would be the judges, judge the dance routines. But the fundraiser part kicked in is where we allowed the audience to bribe us, the La Mordida. So we would always select the pair that danced what we thought was the best, and the audience would throw money at us to sway our vote. And Collab understood the assignment.
You totally won.
Brought an army, and it was like 10 to it was like 1 to 1,000 of the fundraising capability of Collab for us.
Can I tell the best part of dance? The best part is we did this at Big Medium, and this is like multiple. I was a dancer. Okay. I was one of the dancers of the Pants Off, and this is like multiple like organizations and galleries who were there, and we did it at Big Medium, but like also nobody from Big Medium participated, and the back room of the gallery that we're in, all the dancers put their stuff in, but somehow the door locked, so we couldn't get our stuff after. And everybody's like, we gotta go drink at Collab. Like, what's going on? Like, what do we do? Because like no one from Big Views there, and Jaime busted the door down.
Not exactly. I pulled the handle off.
Busted the handle
And
off.
then gently opened the door.
And then we were like, we're out.
So I have a history of breaking things at Big Medium.
Okay.
Subscribe to the next episode to hear all the stories.
So I feel like we haven't really dug very deeply into the East Austin studio tour,
Yeah.
which was, I feel like, a huge game changer for the whole city, not just in terms of the opportunities that it offered the artists who participated, but I remember Rachel wanted to write about it for the Chronicle the first couple of years, and it was like, I don't know, and she's like, this is going to be something. And the degree to which Austin responded to it, and people started streaming to the east side and flooding people's houses to look at art and occasionally buy it, was just phenomenal.
That's
There
your
was
key
nothing-
point right there, Robert. Nailed it.
But I mean, it became
Yes.
a thing where there had not been a thing like it
Right.
in the Austin art scene ever.
That's how I got into Pump Project. I think it was like the 5th year of the studio tour. It was like 2007, and that's how I fell in love with that space through the East Austin studio tour. Like, they had just gotten me to volunteer for that, and I just absolutely loved it. But then when you participate in it for like over a decade, and then it becomes like 2 weekends in a row, and then you're like there for like a really long time, then you like don't sell anything, and then you pay for an ad.
You love it?
You get a little resentful towards it, but these are just personal Rebecca thoughts. I think that it is a really cool thing. I think it is very incredibly influential. It is, you can't talk about the art scene here without talking about the East Side Tour, which is now just the tour. I think that's how I feel like I fell in love with the art scene here, was through that, for sure.
It seems to have had an arc too, like it's in its origin. It was like people party in the backyard, there was this, it was really like, one of the things we've talked a lot about, like, Sean was on our second show that Jaime moderated, which was with DIY spaces, and it had Emily Lee of All of a Sudden, and also My Snow of Shed Shows. And we were talking about, filling gaps. And, Sean made the great point that, like, if we don't have something there, then, it's just going to sort of become a shell. There's not going to be anything like that. And it seemed like the East-West studio tour filled a gap, for quite a while. It was really important, kind of like it did its work. And I've seen it, when I had a studio in Dumbo in Brooklyn, they had the Dumbo Arts Festival, which was really great. And over time, as it got bigger, on a bigger mass, and there was more corporate sponsorship, and just becomes a different animal. But it seems like in the beginning, and and it didn't stretch. It was, I would have loved it. I would have loved going to Pump
There were
Project.
some that were like super,
I bet there was
super
really,
fun.
really cool shit.
Yeah, I like the early ones because they were good equalizers of
Right.
what was being seen. Because, as I said, there was a lot of good energy, good vibes coming off of the
Yeah.
institutions, where our academic artists coming out of the universities and staying here. But then there were a lot of artisans that were not getting play. And the East Austin Studio Tours just leveled that out a little bit of like, no, you can go to these studios and you can see these woodworkers and these metalsmiths and right next to these painters and photographers. So I liked it for those early years. And then as it got more popular, I recognized that the tour was no longer for me, because I have a history of going to all the openings and meeting artists. And the studio tour was no longer that for me. I didn't need to do that to meet artists.
Right.
And that's when the popularity exploded, and gentrification was,
It
at the
became a little
top,
more branded.
right in front. And that's actually that's why we did fundraisers for the Mac show, because our show was about gentrification. It's still, East is still good. It's still great for our scene, but yeah, it's definitely grown into something else. And I mean, I give Shay his props for dealing with that, right? Being the face of gentrification in Austin. I mean, yeah, we laugh, but he was the face. East is the face of gentrification in Austin, and how Big Medium has
It's
dealt
fine,
with that.
he knows.
Yeah, he does know, but that's why I want to give him his props. It's kudos.
Yeah.
Like, he dealt with it. He evolved as a person. The organization evolved. It's not easy, so kudos to you, Shay,
Yeah.
and to Big Medium as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the opportunities. Oh, sorry, Cindy.
That's okay. I think you answered.
Yeah.
When you elaborated, you answered the question.
Yeah.
If you want to have a good time at the studio tour, you got a Museum of Human Achievement, and we all know it.
Zach's like, shut up. No, I mean, I think that when you run a space and especially if you're in Canopy and you know it's going to be complete madness, and it's like kind of like, okay, we gotta get in game mode, game phase, because of the amount of people. And so there's that part. It's like, it's exhausting, but like the first time I ever did it was I'd moved back for a year. I'd left for a year and moved back, and I posted up in someone's garage, and and I was trying to make it just as jewelry and metalsmith at the time, and the people I met that came through was great, and I've done it in all the different capacities, like posting up in a garage or someone else's studio space or having an actual studio or house gallery and things like that. But I do agree, like I was just reading something today, I can't remember, it's through an email about a gallery who wants to show local artists, and that's their focus, and they said they talked about how they find a lot of their artists, they would go through the East catalog, and they would look at what they respond
like a
to.
tool.
So it is a
great
tool, and as someone who's like, for myself, when I was doing more metalsmithing, it's like, I'm not going to be able to show in many galleries in Austin, like, or metal sculpture or something, like it's limiting. So it's like the studio tour is where people come out and they're like, wow, I didn't know people in town did stuff like this or work
You were
like
able
that.
to, like,
so you're
connect
able to
the dots.
discover a lot of things,
Yeah.
and I think like with ICOSA too, it was sort of like we came back and there were a bunch of people we knew who made really incredible work that wasn't going to get shown in some of the galleries that were showing. It was just, it didn't fit that style or whatever the trend. So the studio tour does allow those people that moment of a platform, and I think it's nice. Like talk to me in November when we're gearing up for it, and I'm just going to be like, oh man, because I know what we're dealing with. But I just know historically when I've participated on all these different levels, and what I've seen is, there's the city, people still really do love it, and it's been a really great, thing to help some people's, art and careers. So
Yeah.
I go back and forth on it, but I like it.
Yeah, and I feel really fortunate that the majority of my experiences with it were at Pump Project, because that was like the Canopy before Canopy. It was like we had so many artist studios, and so that was the place you went during the East Austin Studio Tour. So it was the best bang for your buck. You'd see like so many different
Yeah, a
artists
lot of
all in
people
one
gravitate.
location.
Yeah.
And everybody there was so awesome. It was great. It was really great. We had a lot of fun, and when ICOSA was there, it was fun. It just gets exhausting.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you show these?
No. You know what? There's a certain brand of artists who's like very private in their studio, my studio, and I've talked to other artists like this. Like, you don't want everybody in the world coming in your studio because it's so intimate, and it's for me anyway. So I suppose I could go show somewhere out of the studio, but like you said, it's 2 weekends of the best weather in the year, and you sit there for 8 hours a day. I did that a lot in San Francisco. Toward the end of my time there, I did open studios there. And like at Hunters Point, I went and I got a big studio in this complex. And the thing that drove people into my studio was that down the hallway they were baking chocolate chip cookies at intervals. So everybody would come, as soon as they took the cookies out, they were like dum 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 dum. I had done it a lot there. I took flyers, put them on cars, nothing, So, you go through stages in your art life where you're willing to crawl on the ground to make it happen, and then you kind of go like, okay, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think it's wonderful, the open studios, and,
Yeah, it seems like we need more. It's like, this kind of goes into, one of the things that we also talked about is kind of like where we are now, which is something that we talk about on a lot of the shows. And I wanted to kind of roll into another thing really quick. And this is something that I've noticed and that you also brought up when we were hanging out on Saturday. It's like, and it's come up a few times in past shows, that there needs to be sort of a broader advocacy across the board of art in and of Austin. More of an interconnection of everything that's going on, because one of the things that I noticed when I first moved here is that Austin is really, really crunchy. It has an enormous, it's very, it's kind of like rabble-rousing, it's got so much spirit, and there's so many different levels of everything that's going on, and always has been. It was really interesting last night working on the layers and kind of looking at them and looking at the patterns, but to have more of an interconnection between all the various, as we say in the ecosystem, all the points that are firing. You have to have artists, you have to have art institutions, you have to have DIY spaces. Jaime brought this up in the second show. It's come up a few times. Annette Carlazzi brings it up a lot. We need a collector culture, all these things. And you brought it up
It all needs to be kind of firing at the same time, but more of sort of a cross advocacy about sort of like also the diversity in this town of what's being done. So like, for instance, like actually Tammy Rubin brought it up, I think, in the second show. Yeah, Laura's been to every single show. But she was like, would it be helpful if like when Mucky Mucks come into town, that they are told about the show that's just really right around, you just walk like a half a block down what do you call it, runs through the middle of UT, like the promenade, and there's Art Gallery for Black Studies, it's literally right there, or having this aspect of it. And we are working on it, of having more where when people come into town, they have more to pick up, they have more to see, that they know about the Museum of Human Achievement, that they know about shed shows, that they know about all the different things that are going on, they know about CoLab, because the information is like generously shared in that way, so people can see the map and know what's there. Let's see here. So another thing that's come up a lot in shows, and also in the last show, was the Austin art world has shifted a lot. Like this is one of the things that Robert Bullen had brought up as well, and what we were observing when we were all hanging out last week, was that it's shifted many times over the years where scenes converge, and I also see it in the timeline. They converge, disperse, and regroup into new forms. And a lot of it is individuals, They move into one thing, and then that changes and it morphs, and then they move on to another, like yourself, everybody up here. And it's really fascinating. It's like, to me, it's more visible than past. It's not the same thing as New York or San Francisco, where it doesn't really register because there's just so much going on. So there's this, and Annette's brought it up that, this is a huge opportunity. She says that another thing that she brought up was like, in contrast to Houston and Dallas, we're very amorphous, and it changes a lot. And how do we actually point that to our advantage, Also, like Chris in the last show brought up, she pointed out that in the beginning, like there was just teaming with artists, but there wasn't, a whole lot of infrastructure. And now with what's happening, a lot of artists are getting priced out. We have the institutions, but a lot of artists are getting priced out, so we're in danger of sort of losing the seedbed. And that was one of the reasons why I started drawing out the timeline, because it was so we could see ourselves. When you see the list, it's really astonishing. It's like we're really here, So I just wanted to bring that up, and like, where do we take it from here? Was one of the questions that you had.
I think you're right about that thing about individuals. I mean, like Austin seems really rich in community. You can put things together, take them apart. If 20 people show up, and that's great. But also like a person like yourself who just decides, gosh darn it, I'm going to do this, and see what happens. Absolutely. Kevin and Philip and all these people, and Graydock, and it's like, it seems to be people in their 40s and 50s who kind of go like, what am I going to do about this, and then they invest that section of their life, and they, really start things. So, come on out.
Yeah.
Well, last time I mentioned this space that I don't know anything about, but I did look up the information on it. I went by and took a little picture. It's called Seabrook Square, coming in fall 2025. Mixed income, affordable apartments, cafe, community hall, and arts nonprofit offices, playscape, murals, and pedestrian square, affordable live-work apartments for local artists. That's at the corner of Mayor and Berkeley.
Right.
So I just thought, just as a public service announcement, I have no
Mayor and
idea
where?
what that is or if it's really legit, but it's just information which might be helpful for artists who are suffering from the very thing that Chris mentioned, this impossible economic situation that our artists face with.
And
It is-
because of what she's sitting just said, it's like how people need to be able to communicate with each other, like we don't have sight lines anymore. And we had, things, well, I mean, this glass tire and stuff, but like, let's say an Austin-based lighting outfit that would bring up that kind of information.
Right,
I mean,
and who knows, it might be something that's gonna translate into something that's
yeah.
outrageously expensive, but
Yeah.
do you know anything about it?
It is legit, but it
Okay.
is also a pilot. So it's these developers whose primary focus was affordable rental units, but part of their strategy was to include that office space for a nonprofit, which is being used
Amazing.
for Raisin in the Sun was the organization that's been invited. So
Yeah.
that's where the murals are
that's
going to come
good.
from, because
Awesome
Raisin in the Sun has a
murals.
history of producing murals.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank
So-
you, I had no idea,
Yeah.
I had no information.
So the
about
live
that.
the live
Other-
work is, I don't know
Right.
where that is, but
Okay.
as a whole, it's a pilot.
It seems
Okay.
like I remember a place near St. Ed's that was, what
Yeah.
is that complex, does anyone remember? Never mind.
There are apartments on South Lamar that are, there's units
And
dedicated for musicians.
This was quite some time ago that it was touted to be that, and then it became very commercial.
Yeah.
Was
So
that-
there are tests happening, experiments happening,
Yeah.
but we got to be tapped into those conversations.
If I've learned anything from everybody who moves to Austin about fixing the economic problems here, it's that we get all the rich people, all the tech people, we put them in a van. It's a bus. It's a bus. Either one.
It's a bus.
We take them to all the art spaces. We give them alcohol. They buy the art. We repeat this over and over again. We put them back in the van. This is a groundbreaking idea. Yeah,
I've seen
we get from everyone who moves here from another state or country. Like, I know how I'm gonna fix your art scene. Yeah. Get all the rich people. Shove them together in a van.
It's funny, but it's true. That's people say it all the time.
Unreal.
Well, we're heading up on like almost an hour and a
29.
half.
Hey,
Yeah.
collab, see what they got me?
Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah.
You can't live on beer alone.
We got you someone.
Once,
You didn't show up.
everybody tells me that story. That I got you a Dr. Pepper, but you didn't show up.
Yeah.
Home project. Oh, and let's stop talking about Dr. Pepper.
I'm just trying to get us a sponsorship here. Call us.
So I just wanted to scoop the room one more time.
Oh, Rachel.
Yeah.
Dana Freeze Hansen is here.
Yay! Steve.
When he did 22, the group,
It was a team effort.
it was a super big team with Erica Shamley and Dana, and it was an amazing 96. I mean,
Yeah.
96 was when did you do?
No, 90,
It
it
was
would be 2000 something.
2007. But it was gonna be called 20 Under 40.
No, yeah, okay.
And I'm sorry.
No, it's,
But Erica said it was gonna be 20 Under 40. They're
yeah,
doing this thing.
20 under 40.
But you launched a crew of curators through this town that did studio visits with people, like the East Tour, where they were seen. And they were like, oh my gosh, the Austin Museum of Art curators are coming to my studio. It was such a big deal. It was
Thank
such
you.
a big deal.
And let me just explain it. I thought that 20 under 40 would be a good graphic and a nice idea, and then Margot Sawyer, a friend of mine, kind of slapped me and said, it's not about age. You got to figure out a way that it's underappreciated or underrepresented
Yeah.
artists, and that's what, when Naomi said, I want to be part of this competition, it's like what I realized is important, and maybe, I don't know, maybe in earlier shows we talked about, but cross-pollinating the generations
Yeah.
is one thing which is really good. So therefore, we had people who were in their 50s or 60s piece.
Erica said to
And
me,
Erica, yeah.
because she was
And
working
Jim
with me
Housefield.
more directly from
Yeah.
Gallery Lombardi in that process, and I was happy to feed you guys my
Yeah.
talent to get the exposure. But she said it was called 20 Under 40, and then we met Philip Trussell,
Yep.
and he was older. And
We changed it
and she
before,
was
but that was a
charmed.
good thing.
Y'all were charmed,
Yeah.
and then and so you changed the name of the show because you met that gentleman, and he appreciates that, and I appreciate that to this day. It's so good.
Because it's not about age, it's about, well, what Amo at the time wanted to do was, show the richness of the art scene here in
Yeah.
the show, and we raised money for a catalog and publicity, and so
Yeah.
I think there were 5 of them. Or
Yeah.
something. And then we started bringing in outside curators to advise, so that was.
But that was so important to the community. I thank you.
Yeah.
Next,
I think
relied upon projections from lots of other people, so that.
Yeah.
And the artists made great new work
Yeah.
for each show, so.
They were great.
It's a
And
good
I
show.
think that involvement from an institution like AMOA was, I mean, we talked about that a lot when we went out, like that mentorship that you can get in a place like Austin. It's like one of the really cool things about being here. When that happens, it is really special.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to hop in with? This is like, I knew that when I was going to do this, it was just this whole spontaneous thing that started happening. And it actually, Jill and Kevin started it. Because we hang out and we...
It's your
fault. It's your fault. You know, we hang out and we talk. Jill, Jamie, and Kevin were actually my very first show as brick and mortar galleries, and because I would go into, they were always on my hit list, you know, when I art out, and was kind of ribbing them a little bit, but I'm like, so how do we like turn all this tech money that's, you know, coming into Austin, you know, how do we get these people to buy art, you know, and all my, you know, and all my friends are
It can be,
yeah.
Caravan. I can put
Exactly.
3 in my car.
it depends if you're coming from New York or come from California.
But it was like my friends in California, you know, like with Gagosian's Try in Silicon Valley, etc. You know, like, yeah, good luck with that. But I'm like, I'm going to ask the question anyway because it's just a fun place to start. I mean, what the hell, you know? It's, but we still hang out and talk and swap ideas and stuff. And the whole idea of history came up. I don't want to do too much of a spoiler about some ideas in the future, but it just kind of came out of that. And a lot of it out of my own curiosity, because I'm a newbie. So, and I realized when I started, and I remember talking to you about it, Jamie and I had dinner, she goes, you know, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you should put this person on the show. And I did. It's like, I can have 250 people up on stage, you know, like, here we go, you know. So this was a great experiment, and I think we could probably stay up till about 5 or 6. But I think we do have some of the bar left. We can continue to hang out even more. But I really wanted to thank you guys. I think in terms of the both shows. I think we did a pretty good soil sample on the first pass, and I also like. No, I'm just warming. I really am going to stop talking soon. But also talking to Robert has been amazing, and that's been amazing. Even working on the timeline. Like now, I think I've conversed with about 50
We've got
people.
Kathy here, Kathy Brimberry.
Yep. Yeah.
Yay, Kathy Brimberry!
It goes on and on. The richness is insane. It's really insane, and I think that back in terms of where do we take it from here, I think part of it, and also this thing about erasure, it's like, if you could see, it was almost just like demonstrate, if you could see everything that's here, you know, you make it real and you make it tangible, it's like, this is who we are. You know, it's a lot, I think it's a lot more difficult to roll over, you know, to roll over it, you know. part of what we were talking about. You know, Jamie asked you if it's a race, and you said, hell yeah, it's a race to get established before we run out of time. I know as an artist, I feel that way. There is this kind of sense. So, I mean, I think hands off to the Austin art world. So I think it's a really good head start. So thank you guys. And
Thank you, Sono.
Thanks, Sono.
You're welcome.
Good
We made it.
You're such a dick, Jaime. Every single thing out of your mouth.
What did it?
Process for.
Oh, I know. I was like, I have so many names to look up and things like that. But I'm like, this is great for the area.
I also have to check my coastal bias. Process a lot of